In this one, we're going to update our test, our functional test, to include the storing of the file and test that the file is being stored and being stored in the correct location with the correct name. So the test that we've been using for the full end-to-end happy path kind of scenario is this one in job application controller test. Test user can submit a valid application. So that's what we're going to work on. Before we do that, just going to do a little bit of housekeeping because we created that folder, or we said that we're going to store uploads in this public uploads folder. Now, these files that are getting added to that, we don't really want to commit them in Git. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my Git ignore. In fact, I've already done it. I did it at the end of the last lesson, but it wasn't on the recording. And I've just added this entry here in my Git ignore file. Public /uploads/**, and that means that no items which are inside there will actually get committed to Git. Okay, so with that done, let's now go and make a start, or let's go and start thinking about this, because really I want each test to start in the same state. And so for things like your databases or file locations where you're uploading files in tests, you really want them to be in the same state before each test runs. So I'm going to add a bit of setup here, which will make sure that that is actually the case for our public uploads folder. And so I'm going to create a setup method. Setup method, as we already know, is what we use, is what it runs before each test to make sure that the test is in the correct starting state. And so, as well as adding or clearing out the uploads folder at the beginning of each test, I've also noticed, if you remember, a lot of our tests, or all of our tests, are starting like this. We're creating a client, aren't we? So we're doing it there, we're doing it there. We're doing it here. So let's also make the client a property on this test, and then we don't need to create a new client each time. Okay, so behind the scenes, I'm just going to do a little bit of work on this setup. Okay, so here is that setup method. Like I say, we're going to store client as a property on this test class now. So I've also added a property there, and it will be an instance of kernel browser. Upload config, I've just grabbed the upload config class from the container, and then I've called the getCV upload directory to get the value of the upload directory, and I've stored that as a property which we will use in our test. And then I'm using the Symfony file system class to grab the file system, and then what I'm going to do, I'm going to check if the upload directory is a directory, and if so, then on the file system, I'm going to use the remove method to remove all of the contents of the upload directory. And so that does exactly what this comment says here: clear out the upload directory before each test. So each test will be starting with an empty directory. Okay, and then just moving down here, you'll notice what I've also done is I've removed those static create client calls, and now I can just replace with this client because we've done that in the setup. So this happens in all of the tests, and sometimes more than once in the test. For example, here we're saying request, but then we're also submitting a form on the client or using the client. And again, the same here in the validation test. We're saying request, and then we are submitting the form. And I think that's it. So we've replaced all of those. Just make sure, I'll attach this entire file, so just make sure that your code is the same as mine, and we should be fine. So with that in place, now what we need to do is go back to our test user can submit valid application, and we want to make sure that when we submit this form, then that CV gets created and uploaded to that location. Here are the steps to do that. So first of all, what we're going to do is we're going to return an array of all the PDF files in the upload directory. Then what we want to do is assert that there is only one file. Because we've emptied the directory at the start of the test, then we know that if there is only one file, it will be the file which we have uploaded as part of this test. And then we're going to assert the file name. So remember that we use that unique ID, which complicates things a little bit here because we won't be able to do an exact assertion on the name, but we will be able to use regular expression to make sure that we are sort of getting the correct name. So it should be something which begins with CV underscore and then is followed by a unique ID. So I'm sure we can figure out some regex to do that. Okay, step number 1. Return an array of all PDF files in this upload directory. The way I can do that is by using the glob function. So I'm going to say uploaded files equals glob, and then I just provide it the directory, and I'm using a wildcard on the actual name. So any names which end in .pdf or any files which end in .pdf in the upload directory will be returned to me using this glob function. So if you ever want to know what these functions do, I can just do Command and B in PHP Storm. You might do it differently, but here it basically tells you find path names matching a pattern. And what it will do is it will return an array or false. And you just pass in the pattern as the first argument. Okay, next what we want to do is assert that there is only one file. So as this is an array, we can do a assert count. So here I'm saying this assert count, we're expecting a count of 1. We are passing in the item which we want to count, and that is the array of uploaded files. And I've just added a custom message. Should this actually fail, you can do your own failure messages. So here we're saying we expect exactly one uploaded PDF file in the CV upload directory. If that turns out not to be the case, then we will see that in the failure messages. Okay, the very last one. Let's do an assertion against some regex. Here I can use this assert matches regular expression. First argument is the pattern that we want to match. So it must start with CV underscore, and then it's one or more sort of word characters, which means upper or lowercase letters or digits 0 to 9, followed by .pdf or ending with .pdf. And then I just grab the first uploaded file. So it's not really a file, it's actually a file name or a path name. And I just get the base name of that. So we don't get the full path, we just get the last bit, which is the bit which starts with CV underscore and ends with .pdf. Okay, let's run this. PHP bin /PHPUnit. We are filtering for test user can submit valid application. Hit go. Okay, 1 test, 4 assertions. So we now know that we can confidently upload a file. We can check it's been uploaded to the right location, has the correct name, has the correct file extension, etc. Let's end by running all tests because we've got a few tests in here now. So I'm just going to say PHP bin PHPUnit, no filtering, run 7 tests, 22 assertions, all green. This is looking good.